Hello, everyone. Today I have an interview to share with you with the gorgeous Catherine Grace O'Connell. We talk about midlife transition from the inside out, and Catherine gives us some tips and insights to really thrive now and the years beyond, including moving through any difficulties you might be facing right now. My name is Deb, and welcome to Women Reinventing Midlife TV, where we aim to inspire women over 50 to thrive in a meaningful life that you deeply desire and deserve. Catherine Grace O'Connell, or Catherine Gracio as she's known on Instagram, is an ageism positivist and an empowerment catalyst. She is the founder of Forever Fierce Midlife Matters, which is a global Facebook community dedicated to supporting and celebrating the modern midlife woman. Catherine is also the CEO of Midlife Media, which is a female-focused, message-based digital media agency. Now, I really love this interview with Catherine, which was taken from a summit about 3 years ago. She shares her experience of transition through a really serious terminal illness and how she made a life-changing decision that helped her heal herself and follow her purpose. And now she's really thriving. Now, some of the things that we cover include how important our mindset is in transitioning midlife to really thrive. And we discuss trauma and how past trauma can influence our transition negatively. And she also gives tips for personal healing and reducing stress. So this is a fantastic interview to tune into. So let's pop on over and have a look. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad you could join us.
Thank you so much, Deb. I'm delighted to be here. I love your mission, your message, and what obviously this summit is all about. So I am all on board.
Thank you. And I'm so glad you accepted my invitation, because I know that you're quite selective about where you speak. Yeah, so I'm really grateful.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, you sent me the
Yeah.
loveliest email. I mean, it was just so heartfelt and touching. I was like, how can I say no? I have these boundaries up just to kind of, because I was such a yes girl. Everything was ever yes, yes, yes. And I was like, I'm exhausted. So
I know that feeling.
I had to say yes.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. And I know we're going to be talking about mastering modern midlife. And I can't wait to launch into that topic. But you also have a really interesting transitional story and really inspiring one to share. And I'd love it if you just share with our audience a little bit about your story.
Sure. Thank you so much for asking. So, I am just about to turn 61, and it was 2014 that I was diagnosed with late stage Lyme disease. So, by the time I was diagnosed, they traced it back over 10 years. I had 2 cases of spinal meningitis, so they knew that I'd had it for over 10 years. So, by the time I was diagnosed, after many, many misdiagnoses, and there's nothing wrong with you, it's all in your head, I basically was a dead woman. It was in my brain. And so, as soon as I started treatment, within the first month, I couldn't walk for a year. I had seizures 3 to 8 hours a day. I was completely dependent. I could not care for myself. I couldn't, take a bath, take a shower, walk the dog, go to the grocery store. I couldn't do anything. So all my organs started shutting down, near-death experience on 11/11/14. So this all happened really fast. And I am still here. And so unlike many people who go through near-death experiences, first of all, it was like, oh, the heavens opened and I'm healed. It was like the heavens opened and you're not going up there where you've been wanting to go because you think it's pretty cool up in heaven, but not so cool down here with these cookie humans. So I was like, what? So I was here and I still was suffering terribly, and nothing had changed in my reality, and I was very confused because I'd had a lot of trauma. And I was like, okay, I think I'm kind of done. But the universe clearly had another path. So fast forward a few months, and my daughter came over to see me. This was spring of 2015. And I would get better and get worse and get better and get worse. And it was really in here. I still was struggling with why I was here, because it's not like a path had opened yet.
Mm.
So she looked at me and she said, Mom, what would you do if you were well? And I said, I'd travel the world. And keep in mind, I could barely walk around the block at that point. So I'm like, where did that come from? That was a deeper place inside of me answering that. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, there was this light that went on. And I was like, okay, I am not, when you have Lyme disease, when you have a chronic illness like that, it's stigmatized, misunderstood,
Mm.
not a lot of information, crazy protocols. I mean, it's just a really confusing, very expensive, very draining world. I, in that moment, decided I was not going to think about this illness anymore. I was going to be well. So I left that world of illness in that moment. I said, okay, I'm going to think well, be well, act well, do things that bring me joy. I got a bucket list. I'm going to create this place to travel around the world. Even if I can't go, I'm going to do it so I get myself in this beautiful, happy place. And from that moment on, I never looked at Lyme disease again. Usually you spend hours on the computer looking at other people's stories and what they're doing to heal. And I was like, I'm done. So the way I see Lyme disease and many chronic illnesses like that, there's a light circle and a dark circle, and the one is illness and the other one is wellness. And I decided I was going to spend 100% of my energy in wellness, and if I so much as dipped a toe in illness, I was going to be feeding that dark energy, and I wasn't going to do that. So I did a ton of inside out work. I grabbed my toolbox that I had been accumulating for three decades of inner work as an energy worker and all these things I've been trained in, and I healed myself at the root. The doctors said to me, it's never going to go away. It's gone, completely gone. And I stopped all of the, treatments for it and did it inside out. So to me, a modern midlife is this midlife that is lived not just outside in, but more importantly from the inside out.
Mm.
That's where our power lies. That is where our transformation lies. Everything inside out. Our reality changes the quickest from the inside out. So I took a deep dive in there. I undid a lot of the roots of the illness and the trauma, and I healed myself. And this
Wow.
path opened up, this modern midlife path, as I enter this world in social media to share my story and heal myself. I had so many people reaching out. And
Mm.
here I am, like in my mid 50s, and there's no community, there's no connection to one another. We're supposed to be invisible. We're not supposed to say our age. We're not supposed to have confidence. We're not supposed to be relevant. And I was like, I've just come back to life. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to work for me. So I did the opposite, and I created a community. I created connection. I started shouting my age to the rooftops, and I
Yeah.
finally felt this, confidence and self-worth that had eluded me most of my life. I was like this new person, and I was like feeling amazing about myself. And so I wanted to share this with other women and spark this in other women.
I love that. There's nothing like our own experience to really ignite our passion, to be able to pass that forward and really serve others. And my own experience has inspired every step I've taken in my work as well, for sure. Lyme disease, it is little known. It's little known, and yet it's quite chronic, isn't it? It's
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. If you see it under a microscope, it's funny because I had many hospitalizations and surgeries prior to this, and so the last case of spinal meningitis, my hospital record showed syphilis. They never mentioned it to me, so I thought, oh, this is just wrong. Of course, I don't have syphilis, but under a microscope, Lyme disease looks the same. It's a corkscrew bacteria. It screws into all your tissues and organs, and it starts proliferating over time. That's why it's so deadly, because it stays dormant,
mm,
and then oftentimes trauma or something activates it, some situation in your life or whatever. And
mm,
so then it travels and it goes up your spine and crosses the blood-brain barrier and goes into your brain and causes meningitis. It's neuro-Lyme as a common side effect, but it's misunderstood.
yeah.
It's missed all the time. There's virtually no insurance for it. So everything is out of pocket. Many of the treatments are, alternative. So because Western medicine really doesn't know what to do with it.
Mm,
So it's a hellhole, honestly.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah, and I can understand how easy it would be to fall into that illness pit, I am
Yeah.
sick, which is the real identification with the illness, isn't it? It's so,
Yeah,
so
in
easy to
Lyme
do.
disease, you're so right, because most people don't get out. Most people don't get well. They stay in
Mm,
these Lyme communities and they all stay in this negative, awful space
yeah,
of icky illness. And the reason is they identify with it and nobody understands it. So they're being judged and stigmatized. So, like, I'm not going to let go of this. Like,
yeah.
this did this to me, and I'm not. They don't realize that they're actually keeping themselves. I worked with hundreds of people with Lyme disease, and it was so rare that anybody was willing to leave that dark circle and spend. They'd pop into the light and they'd go back, and they'd pop in and go back, and they'd be angry, and I'm like,
Mm,
you're doing it to yourself. But
yeah.
I tried, not judgment thing, but I tried and I tried. Finally I left that because it was so draining to me, and I realized that these Lyme communities were keeping people sick.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can really see that. I can really, really see that. Um, and so I love what you said. It's about starting with the inside and working from the inside out. And what you did with your recovery is you decided that you were well. And I think that's so easily missed.
Mhm.
It's that decision. It is a responsible decision.
An intention, and
Yeah.
I think of it like a switch. So
Mm,
there are many areas. We have different areas of our lives, right? If we did a pie shape, we have our financial area, our relationship area, all these areas. There's certain areas that you're going to be easier to flip that switch and it doesn't flip back. Other areas you might go back and forth, right? Maybe it's your weight
yeah.
issue, whatever it is. For me, flipping that switch, setting that intention, I was done. It was going to be on, and that's it. I was never going back. To this day, I've never, ever thought about disease. I'll be out with people, we'll be in the woods, they'll be like, aren't you going to like, no, it's never happening to me. Trust me, it is just gone and it's never coming back. So I will not allow that thought. That intention was so strong, and that
Mm,
switch is flipped in me, and Lyme disease will never touch me again. Now, there are other areas of my life that I'm not that just that powerful mind. Our minds are crazy powerful, and when we unite the two, our mind and our body, we can do anything.
yeah, yeah, that is really true. So that the mindset switch that you did to recover it can be used in other parts,
It can
midlife,
be
the midlife
used
transition. Yeah.
it can be used in any area. And again, just so you know, the women out there know, there are
Mm,
going to be areas you struggle with more, and there are many reasons. Maybe
mm,
there's just a huge, genetic family history and, of abuse or whatever, and trauma, and that is an area that's going to be more difficult. Maybe you need some help in that. There's, areas we struggle with, our finances, whatever. There's certain areas we're going to have more struggle with. For me, that was one. I was just, darnation, I was going to do it, and that was it, and nothing was going to hold me back. And I did the same, like with an eating disorder, when I was like in my 20s, and I was like, that's, I'm done, and I never did it again. So there's certain things that,
mm.
we have that mindset, we have that control over everything, but there's certain areas of our life that we might have more stuff and more roots there that have grown for a while, and it might take us a little bit more time. But trust me when I say our mind is so powerful, there isn't anything that we cannot heal in our lives or our relationships.
Yeah, so I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And quite often in the midlife journey, in this midlife transition, a lot of those different things that you just mentioned actually rise up in order for us to deal with them, don't they?
They
Yeah.
rise up for us to heal,
Mm,
right? I mean,
yeah.
that's, you talk about, the second half of our lives, or the second or third acts, whatever, but this is the, the lotus comes up from the mud, right?
Yeah.
That's the soil, and you've got all this gunk in there, but that is also part of the richness, and that's where the blooms grow from, or the
Mm,
phoenix rises from those ashes, and all that can burn away. And the beautiful thing about like energy work, you can make quantum leaps. So if we were to do everything linear, in a linear way, like if I was to heal Lyme disease in a Western linear way, I would, like, it would be lifetimes, right?
yeah.
But we don't. We can heal in a quantum way, which means that we trace the root back to the original thing. And that's, and we can, it all unwinds, and we can heal anything if we get to the root of it.
I get it. And so So obviously mindset is one of the big parts of mastering midlife, is mastering
Mastering my
that
midlife.
modern.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's really it's
Mm,
basically mind, body, spirit, but
yeah.
truly we are multidimensional beings. So really we have all these different, we have our physical body, we have our mental body, we have our emotional body, we have our spiritual body. So we have so many different layers here. So if we, we need to address all of them to be a whole person, right? We need to heal on every single level. It's mind, body, spirit, and our emotions.
Yeah, we are on the same page. We are on the same page because it's never just one thing, is it? It's a multitude of
No, they're
different
all connected.
parts.
They're all
Yeah,
connected. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. And so, how would you suggest a lady watching, any of the ladies watching, could go about doing that? Healing on that mind, body, spirit level, or nurturing on that mind, body, spirit level, and to enable them to master modern midlife.
Sure. Well, it really depends where you are, right? There's always a jumping
Mm,
off point, and like anything else, like in
mm,
a track, I used to run track, right? You have people like you're staggered, right? So it depends where you are. There are people who might just be dipping their toe in and going, okay, I just want to try this out. So maybe they're ready to read a book, or maybe they're ready to go, sign up for the Hay House newsletter and, find the different authors, or maybe they're ready to dabble in meditation a little bit and go get the Insight Timer app, or I mean, obviously they can follow me on my blog, Catherine Graceau, and I've got lots of information there and lots of resources there. But there's so many ways to begin. Now, if they're more, maybe in intermediate or in advanced, it really depends where they're at. So maybe they want to get trained in something. Maybe they want to start like really feeling energy. So maybe go, I'm a Reiki master teacher. Maybe go try Reiki. There's a million different forms of energy work that they can do. That's just one. But that's a great way to really use your own, power of energy to heal yourself and experience it. Everything that I have ever done in my life, I've been at this for over 30 years, is experiential. And
yeah.
I'm far more of a generalist than a specialist. So I've been trained in tons of things. The reason I was trained so that I wouldn't be a specialist in one thing, I would try all these things to see what worked for me and maybe what didn't, but might work for somebody else. Okay, I would love that, didn't love that so much. This really was powerful, even in meditation, right? There's many, many forms of meditation. I love mindfulness, love metta, mantra, TM. There's so many forms that if you try them, you see what one really resonates for you. And I'm trained as a meditation teacher just recently, which is I've been meditating for a very long time, but that is just in and of itself, just meditation can heal you.
Yeah.
Because that right then, you've got the monkeys all quieting down in there, and you've got, when our mind's peaceful, our body's peaceful, and we can heal so much because so much comes from stress. Stress is just contraction, and over long periods of time, that makes us ill. Our energy isn't even able to flow. Our mind isn't even connected to our body. And then trauma just, shocks us out of our body. So a lot of times, like for me, I wasn't even in my body. I didn't even feel my feet until I was in my 40s. I didn't feel them. I didn't even know I didn't feel them because I didn't feel them. So for so many women, that first half of our lives, there's a lot of gunk in there that we can heal and need to heal in order to transform our lives and take our lives to the next level.
Mm. Yeah, I love what you said. You didn't even realize that you didn't feel your feet because you'd never felt them.
How can you know?
Yeah,
You don't know what you don't know, right? I
really
mean, I remember
don't.
the first
Yeah.
time I had an energy worker help me, and I'm plop in there, and I'm like, what? Like, oh my God, there's this heaviness down there. Like, what is that?
That's what holds you on the planet.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I've never had that sensation before. And it was crazy. I was like, I have been literally out of my body like my entire life. And I think it was my 50s when I felt them. It was crazy. So it's, again, we don't know what we don't know. And that's why experiential is the way to go, because you have to try it for yourself. EFT is another one that's fantastic. You can get the EFT app, you can try all different forms of emotional freedom technique, all these tapping things. Amazing way to heal. So many ways to heal. Find what works for you.
Yeah, I agree. I found the same with yoga. I know when I lost my father 3 years ago, I that was really traumatic for me. And I started practicing yoga regularly, and now I've been teaching for the last 12, 18 months because it made such a difference. It heals. It heals. Yeah.
It does. Yoga
Yeah.
is union, right? So
Mm,
it's a union with ourself, our mind and body, but also our, our higher self. It's
yeah.
the whole, like that multidimensional, right? So
Mm.
yoga is amazing. I was going to get trained and then the pandemic hit and then the studio closed and I moved up here. So I decided meditation, okay, because that was easier to do virtually. But that's on my bucket list. I'm definitely
Yeah.
going to be trained in yoga next.
Yeah, because it really works. It's really about, it's really, what I found is, and you probably too, is when our mind and our body becomes disconnected. It's kind of, well, it's why you didn't feel your feet for so many years, because your mind wasn't actually in your body. And it's that it only needs to be a fraction of a distance away, your mind, and it creates so much stress on your body, so much
So much stress.
connection to
Yeah.
energy. Yeah. Yeah,
I think you
incredible.
can't heal, and how many of these women out there right now watching have had trauma, and trauma doesn't have to be, I've had pretty serious, like crazy off the charts trauma, but there's no trauma comparison. If
Yeah.
it's a car accident, maybe it's, the death of somebody really close to you, like you said, your father, that's trauma, all
Mm,
these things. And what the whole like thing when you understand energy and trauma is that when trauma happens, our conscious mind can't process it. So it bypasses and goes right into, gets stored in our cells and in our subconscious. That's why so much trauma comes out later in life. And a lot of times we didn't realize like that we did this because we repressed it or suppressed it. And it's in there and it's held down, in our cells. And that's why oftentimes it'll come out like in crazy ways when something triggers it that's usually not related to it.
yeah. And sometimes we think about, like you say, trauma as big things, but quite often it can be something that, if we look back now as an adult, that happened in childhood that was seemingly small, like
Exactly.
maybe a
Could be your
friend not
teacher
asking
said
to
something
play.
to you, right?
Yeah.
It could be the boy said something about how you looked. Some little boy who didn't even know what he was saying could be, I remember one time my son, I used to fix his hair and he was so cute with it. And he was in that stage where he didn't want it fixed. And it just was, I remember saying something not nice to him. Like, really, I think I said, like, you look stupid or something. And it was, the look on his face, and I still carry that. That was
Yeah.
55 years ago, and I carry it like it was yesterday because I know it wounded that was trauma for him.
Yeah.
And it's something that he may not even realize, but these traumas and little traumas, big traumas, they build over time. And if you get one and then somebody says something else later on that's sort of like that, opens out of the wound, you compact it, you add that in, and now you've got layers of trauma. So just know there's no trauma comparison game out there. All trauma is important to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Because what do you think happens if we don't heal the trauma as we're going through this midlife transition?
Well, Oprah talks about that a lot, right? That the
Mm,
universe knocks and it knocks a little louder and knocks a little louder and knocks a little
mm,
louder. And then before you know it, it's knocked you off your feet. And literally and, metaphorically for me, I had tons of knocks and they got louder and louder and more serious and more serious. And then it was like I almost lost my life numbers of times. There were major, major illnesses, life-threatening, massive emergency surgeries. Number of times I almost didn't make it. So those were serious knocks, and all of those were related to I was in a very abusive relationship, and my ex-husband would literally he would leave me to die, literally screaming, "Leave me to die." He was never there at the hospital, never take me to the hospital, never there during surgeries, never there during. I had 11 spinal taps one time alone. So that was the kind of I was in that marriage for 20 years. So but that's on me in that we are not responsible for the abuse by any means, but we are responsible for getting out and we're responsible for healing it. So that compounded, almost cost me my life. So trauma is real. And I know when I had the late stage Lyme disease, and I went to so many specialists, but I sat across from one of the top infectious disease specialists in LA. In general, Western medicine, very, very different from Eastern, they don't really look at things like trauma. But he looked at all my stuff and he said, yes, you have Lyme disease. Yes, it's very serious. trauma is the most important thing here. So he connected the two, and that was so rare. And it was one of those moments where I was practically like just bawling because someone got it. It was like, I know that trauma can over time, because we have, if you look at the emotional body, right, it's out here, but as our emotions and these emotional traumas start, we don't deal with them, right? And they come in and they come in and they come in, and before you know it, they've manifested into very serious illnesses and stress. What this does inside of our body is stress. Every trauma is a stress, right? And holding that energy down in our cells of that trauma that's subconscious, but it's horrendous for our physical well-being. Horrendous. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Most trauma survivors, and again, all these different traumas, that I had friends with very serious Lyme disease like mine that had just a major car accident. Yeah, they did. I'm an incest survivor, so these are both very serious traumas, and so are other traumas that you don't maybe put on that level, but they can make you really ill if you don't deal with them.
Yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it. And midlife is our opportunity to deal with them. How would a woman watching us now, how would she know that she has traumas that she needs to deal with? Because sometimes people are really unconscious to this, aren't they?
That's the whole thing, right? Like I said before, there's a wonderful book. It's called Waking the Tiger by Dr. Peter Levine, and explains trauma and explains this way it goes past the conscious memory and into your cells. It's like, pay attention to the way that you feel, right? Your intuition. We know when something is off, right?
Yeah.
We're not feeling well. We're exhausted all the time. We don't want to get out of bed. Maybe we're somewhat depressed, all these things are signs that we're out of balance, and we're out of balance. Okay, why are we out of balance? And oftentimes another way to know is that we're triggered a lot, right? So whatever that trigger is for you, we get triggered, and the more pain and wounds we have inside, the more we're going to be triggered. My father was an orphan. He was abandoned. He was triggered he was just, we called him the goddamn dad. He was screaming and swearing all the time. He was always triggered, a walking trigger. That is a sign of someone who has been through massive trauma. So if you are a walking trigger, if you are depressed, depression is just anger turned inward toward you. My father was anger turned outward. Those are all signs of trauma. We don't want to be the walking wounded and going out there. There's that saying that wounded people or hurt people hurt people. We want to be the hurt person that stops the hurt.
Stops the pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. You've shared some amazing insights, and thank you so much for sharing your own personal story. I've seen the photographs, so I've seen the difference between the woman you were then when you were so sick and the woman you are now, and you're hardly recognizable. It's quite incredible, and that's from healing from the inside out. And I really want to acknowledge you for that, Catherine. You're just such a beautiful person.
Thank you so much. Well, I think it's really important. And I have some friends that have gone through illnesses, and they're like, why do you share those? And I share them so that they can see where I was and where I am now, and that if I can do it, anyone can, because I'm the every woman. I am not special. I'm no different than anybody else. So, I promise you, if I can make that kind of miraculous transformation, so can anybody, because miracles happen. We're connected to the divine, right? If you believe that, we come from source, we come from spirit, we have spirit. We have part of God inside of us. So we all have the capability to, transform our lives, whatever it is that we want to transform. And I have had no plastic surgery, and I got no filler in my face. It is all inside out. It's all healthy living, joyful living, putting good things in my body, thinking good things, doing all the mind, body, spirit. And I'm not perfect. I love my sweets, but I live too, and I love joy. But I do believe in, at least for me up till now, it's been all natural.
Yeah, beautiful. And you look amazing. Absolutely amazing. Catherine, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation.
Thank you for having me. It's been pure delight. So, lovely to be with you.
And thank you for joining us. Now, we trust that you found that content really helpful. There are links to connect with Catherine in the description notes underneath this video. So I suggest that you go and check out the links there. And please remember that if you did enjoy the conversation and found it very helpful, please remember to like the video, share it, subscribe to this channel, and click the bell for notifications so you're notified as soon as the next video comes out. Lots of love to you, and I look forward to connecting next time. Bye bye.